Thank you. Well, thanks. I'm going to take my glasses off so I can see. Cool to have such a neat turnout. You know, I think being grateful, being happy, those are maybe precursors to really being successful, don't you think? My beautiful wife, Georgianne, taught me a lot about happiness, that happiness is really the beginning of success. It's not the end result, it's really the beginning. If you start with being happy, success generally follows. And I think the easiest way to be happy is really to have a little bit of a spirit of being grateful. And the doomsayers, they have it all wrong. We've been so blessed, haven't we? Absolutely blessed. We've won the lottery of life. I would submit that there's never been a better time to live on planet Earth than right now today. The years that we've spent here, just think, if you have a gray hair or two like me, that means that you spent the early years of your career in the greatest economic boom in history. Talk about the wind at our backs, huh? Getting a head start. It's been absolutely fabulous. So today what I'm anxious to share with you is just, again, how good we really have it, how lucky we are, and then I want to share with you something that I think is a pretty big dilemma in cities like ours. And it's not just our city, but cities like ours all across the country. And then lastly, I'm going to ask you to help me solve it. So just think, in the last 100 years, how things have changed. The efficiencies that have been created, the improvements in our lifestyle. It's been absolutely amazing when you think back. And by the way, 100 years is about ready to become a normal lifetime. Actuaries have been tacking on about 6 weeks to each year the last couple of years, and this is just the beginning. 100 years is soon going to become a normal lifetime. Let's go to the couple. Don't people just look better today than they did 100 years ago? I mean, the advancements and things are just absolutely amazing, aren't they? Don't people just look brighter and better? Look at housing. You know, 100 years ago, by the way, there were about 4.5 people per household 100 years ago. Home ownership wasn't what we understand it to be today. Look, 50% more space, darn near half the people, 40% more closet space, 40% more closet space. And remember, plumbing, you know, hygiene's come a long ways in 100 years, right? Fewer people, bigger place, a little more pleasant surroundings. So we're getting married a little bit later in life. Hopefully with age comes wisdom, right? And we're not having as many children. That, by the way, could be a problem. That could be a problem for cities like ours all across the country. And look at work weeks. You know, physical labor really has almost gone the way of the buggy whip, right? Just think about all vocations that you can think of, the reduction in physical labor. 100 years ago, average work week, 54 hours a week. And by the way, there wasn't a lot of overtime, and there wasn't a lot of time and a half or double time. Today it's about 42 hours, maybe a little more if you choose the path to prosperity. So just think, there's still some pockets of the world that are locked in yesteryear, but the overall reduction in global poverty is absolutely, it should be celebrated. You know, just think about our cases. It's a lot more convenient to fret about the volatility of your 401k plan than it is to wonder where you're going to eat tonight or where you're going to sleep tonight, right? We are so very blessed. Think about the efficiencies on the home front. Homemakers spent 12 hours a day doing household chores. Today that's down to 3. The efficiencies that have been realized there are just unbelievable, aren't they? 3 times as many people living a life better than ever before. Education, unbelievable. 50% more people in school that are of school age. Look at graduation rates. Bachelor's degrees, 9 times as many as then. And technology. How many are as geek struck about this as I am? This thing This little thing that we carry around in our pockets has more computing power at the lower valuation than the guidance system for the Apollo 11. Isn't that absolutely amazing? By the way, how many remember what year Apollo 11 was? 1969? 1969. How many does that seem like just not that long ago, too? It's absolutely incredible to think of these things as having come from the same planet, isn't it? How many remember the supercomputers? And they don't compare to these things we carry around in our pocket. You know, if you're going to watch the basketball playoffs this weekend, if you're going to do so on a 50-inch TV, 1998, in today's dollars, that TV would have been available $10,000 in today's dollars. Today, you can have a 50-incher. You can pretty much have your pick for $500. The difference in the picture is astounding, isn't it? The advancement in technology. You know, 100 years ago, do you know what the hot technology was today, this week, 100 years ago? It was the zipper. It was the zipper. Just think, the advancements in technology now today, you know, everything is just absolutely touch screen everything. We're eating more for so much less. If you go back to the 1950s, food took up about 30 cents of every earned dollar. Today, that's down to 20 cents. Just think of the advancements in this area. McDonald's. Go back to 1950, just before Ray Kroc in California. If you went to a McDonald's restaurant, ordered a cheeseburger, do you know that that took about 30 minutes worth of work if you were an average wage earner to pay for that cheeseburger? Do you know what it is today? It's 3 minutes, 1/10. It's absolutely incredible. We eat so much better, so much more than ever before. There are so many safety nets for those in need. See if you don't find this staggering. Since the Great Depression, farmers grow 5 times as much corn as they did then on 20% less land. The advancements, the efficiencies that have been created are just absolutely incredible. Earnings, if going back to 1980, if we compare the number of people that were earning $100,000 a year in today's dollars in 1980, it'd be half of what it is today. Twice as many people are earning six figures, and that's adjusted for inflation. Absolutely incredible. How many have been blessed with great mentors over their lives? I sure have. And a couple of them have shared some things and stuff that I just think is phenomenal. Henry David Thoreau's been credited with saying, most men lead lives of quiet desperation and go to their graves with their songs still in them. How sad is that? Isn't that incredible? Here's where we get to the favor that I'm going to ask today. I think that what we're finding is that there's some human capital loss in cities like ours, all across the country. You know, when we think about this human capital loss, it's absolutely incredible. These young people that are being wooed away to the big city that are highly skilled and talented. And I just think that that's a big old problem that we're facing today. It's much bigger than 100 years ago. Just think back to how things were 100 years ago. You know, back then it was no work, no eat, right? Just think about the safety nets in place. Poor people were lean as fence posts, skinny as rails. Now today, food stamp recipients share in the same obesity rates as the rest of us. The safety nets in place are amazing if they're needed. Pollutions, environmental damage, all of that stuff's in serious decline. Life is better everywhere we're looking. Just think about water qualities, how far we've come in the last 20 or 30 years. Our lakes, our rivers, our streams, all dramatic improvements as we're filtering all of these pollutants, and we've removed the lead from gasoline and taken the lead out of paint, all of these serious improvements. Healthcare, hot topic of the day. But just think, you know, every system has its flaws, but Look what's going on with healthcare. People are living longer. Diseases in general are in decline. Indeed, some diseases during our lifetimes have been totally eradicated. Cancer survival rates. There's literally dozens of types of cancers that used to be death sentences that are no longer. It's absolutely incredible. Violent crime. Do y'all know it's really in decline? And it has been since the 80s? The press would like to have us believe that Chicago's the murder capital of the world, right? Last year there were 415 murders in Chicago. Sure, that's 415 too many, but do you know that's the lowest number since 1965? Life as we know it on many, many fronts is really getting better. You know, maybe we give away too much. I don't know. Poverty's way down, but entitlements are way up. Food stamps are given to able-bodied young men and women. Sadly, sometimes disability has become just an extension of unemployment for many. Now, it's good that those safety nets are in place. Maybe these are areas that could use some tweaking, but I think that goes along with global prosperity. So we have all of this global prosperity, means fewer people are performing menial labor, fewer people are starving. Here in the United States, nobody has to anymore. There are so many safety nets in place. Better educated, better lifestyle, so many more opportunities. So here's the dilemma. This is the dilemma that I'd ask you to help me work on. We baby boomers, we're followed in the next generation by a generation that's a tad bit smaller. That's a problem. It's a problem, it's a demographic problem that's shared in our city and cities like ours all across the country. And what happens when we lose that human capital that I mentioned, when some of these younger, talented people in a smaller generation to begin with, when they start getting wooed away to the big city, can you see what happens to the human capital in communities like ours? It's in decline. And I think we have every opportunity. I think there's some turning points in our city right now that give us the opportunity to maybe improve this human capital. You know, in my case, at my shop, you know, some say it's the key to success is to hire people smarter than you. In my case, that wasn't hard, you know. So at my shop, you know, we've got a Thomas Waitman, and we've got an Emily Maney, and we've got a Denise Larson, and these are just those very young people that I mentioned. These highly talented and skilled folks that could get wooed away anywhere, they've got headhunters chasing them, I suspect, all the time. Their opportunities, they could take their talents elsewhere. But it's great for all of us. It's great for all of us that they're here and that they've become a very fabric of the community, that they've got that sense of belonging, so they stay here because they're making the city better, they're making the businesses better, they're giving me somebody to hand the baton off to. You need a Tom, you need an Emily, and you need a Denise, but you can't have mine. And if you get these, we need them in every area that we can think of. We need them in our churches, we need them in our civic organizations, we need them in our businesses. You know, again, we've mastered all of these technological things and all of these healthcare efficiencies, yet this human capital efficiency rate is lagging. So here's the favor that I ask. I think that we baby boomers who happen to be leading some companies and maybe organizations now, I think we better make it our business to become better coaches to these people, to become better mentors to these people, to be inclusive not only in our companies, but our service organizations, our activities that we're working in town. I think we better be more inclusive of all of these younger colleagues and these friends, younger neighbors, getting them involved. Please invite them to join you the next time you attend a civic event or some kind of a service organization meeting. Because if we give them that sense of community that many of us feel, we get to keep them. And if we get to keep them selfishly, we benefit because it gives us, again, somebody to hand the baton off to someday. So if we can be more inclusive to this group and make them feel a sense of community and a sense of belonging so that they blossom right where they're planted today, it's going to be absolutely amazing and brighten all of our futures too. Keeping the Toms and the Emilys and the Denises right here is really important. And there's another group too. I'm sure that all of us know some otherwise intelligent and good people who are just kind of depressed about the state of the world. Maybe they're just not getting it. They just don't understand the happiness thing. Or maybe, something's happening that's temporarily, taking them off track. Can you see what's happening to their human capital value? It's in decline when they're thinking this way, right? So join me, if you would, in grabbing these people with maybe a firm hug, maybe a gentle kick in the pants, and share with them that the world is indeed a pretty opportunistic place and that we're blessed right here and there are some areas of opportunity. The doomsayers, I think, again, they have it all wrong. We work shorter hours, we have vacations, many of them are paid, we have all of these benefits. So why are some of us telling pollsters that life is hard? Why are some of us in the community telling people that the city's going to pot? Why are we saying the country's going to pot? Why do we say that our parents had it easier? That's phooey, by the way. The good old days weren't so good. The good days are right now, today. We're leading better lives than ever before. So all of that negative stuff is phooey. Life is better today than ever before. Again, we won the lottery of life. And if we're going to experience this happiness, I think we need to all take a pause of where we're at in our careers or where we're at in our lives and take inventory, so to speak, and realize just really how grateful we ought to be. I haven't looked at any of your net worth statements. I don't know your bank accounts. I don't know your tax returns. I don't know your incomes. But I can tell you, by all reasonable global measurements, you're all quite wealthy. We've made it, as the song says. We've made it. So I think back to that great favor, you see, I recently watched a good friend go through a situational depression. And this is the type of depression that a lot of us don't see or notice. It's typically triggered by a divorce or loss of a loved one or a business failure, some kind of negative stuff that's now directing their lives. What's going on with their human capital value? It's in decline when all of this stuff is going on, isn't it? They might not be recognizing it. Their friends and their neighbors and their families might not be recognizing it. But you can see what's going on to their human capital value and how that comes back to us. We might just think that they've become the, proverbial grumpy old man, or they've become kind of a whiner or something. So I'm asking you to reach out to these folks. Oftentimes it might be that trusted colleague. Maybe it's someone that you worked with that was really clicking and really on track, and now they just have become withdrawn. Maybe it's that valued friend. Maybe it's somebody you started out in business with and they've stagnated. Maybe it's that admired neighbor that used to really be involved and now you don't see them out so much and they've become withdrawn. Again, give them a firm hug, maybe even a gentle kick in the pants. Let's spread some good news to them and point out how their news might get better. And let's show them that stinking thinking truly stinks. The news media, I think, is to blame for some of this. Would you agree? The bad news keeps you tuned in, right? What keeps you tuned in for what? The next commercial? Politicians, they keep us pumped up and riled up because a lot of them would actually like to have you believe that they might be responsible or their party might be responsible for fixing something that needs to be fixed. And certainly not everything is as rosy as can be, but overall, things are pretty darn good. So if you know some folks that are paralyzed by fear, if you know some folks that are dreading the future, can you see how that's limiting our futures? It's limiting our abilities and our communities as well. We need to grab these half-glass empty friends. We need to beg them to shed that negative stress. that negative energy, anxiety. We need to ask them to experiment with something else, just for a short period of time. Maybe we can take them along to a Bible study group, or maybe we can suggest some mind over matter stuff, yoga, meditation, martial arts. Helping others see some brighter stuff. Taking a chance and reaching out that helping hand, showing them that a strong resolve and an inner peace, showing them that the payoff can be huge. Instead of being mentally or emotionally spent, a centered or a faith-believing approach can help us all move forward, consciously forward in positive steps helping others. And after all, would you agree that our beliefs limit us? And so too, these people that maybe are in a little bit of a blue funk, don't our beliefs become our reality? Yet we can all control our beliefs. You know, none of us would ever evolve if we didn't let go of bad old stuff, right? And helping others letting go of that bad old stuff can really benefit us too. People like us getting others to help others, spreading it in the shape of a pyramid, reaching out and propping up someone in a blue funk, helping out somebody and getting them back on track. I'm told that the cure rate for that is better than Prozac. You're in the right to respect yourself by doing something noble, right? Showing somebody that's in a blue funk, showing them something noble that they can do, getting them involved in your volunteer organization. Grabbing that youngster that's struggling in high school, maybe floundering, maybe on the verge of not graduating, maybe putting them in the car and driving them over to the local trade school or the local technical school, showing them something that's within their reach. Not everybody has to go to the university. Maybe showing these people that there is something available for them and letting them identify with some kind of a passion that's going to allow them to achieve some of the things they want, and earning that respect to respect themselves first. Because if they don't respect themselves first, how are they going to produce for the community? Helping them develop a taste for success. After all, don't you stand a little taller and your chest sticks out a little further when you've had a taste of success? To me, that's a real high. You know, I think Colorado and Washington, they can have the pot. I'll take a little success for my drug of choice. How about you? You know, and again, it's not only the folks in a funk, but again, these younger colleagues, these people that could be wooed away. Because can you see what happens when these younger, talented people get wooed away? You know, it's the younger, talented ones that go. Sadly, it's the untalented, the unskilled, and oftentimes the troubled that stay, right? After all, they don't have anywhere to go, and maybe nobody's wooing them away. Can you see how that's changing the configuration of this already shrinking demographic? It's incumbent upon us to reach out to these folks and help develop some of these. You know, it's pretty easy to become the Eeyore of the neighborhood if you're not working on something, right? Idle time is not a good thing. So getting these people involved, getting them involved at church, you're already giving. You're giving at church, you're giving at charities, you're giving at work, you're giving your families. Showing someone else the value of getting involved and doing the same thing. Absolutely incredible. As Calvin Coolidge was famous for saying, press on has solved and will solve an awful lot of the world's problems going forward. How many feel as though the business community, maybe even society as a whole, is guilty of becoming a little bit loose with the truth and honor lately? I think sadly it probably has. As we're helping these younger colleagues, as we're helping these people coming out of a funk, how about we help along this way too? Just think of the value of showing a young person starting out that there is no value in stepping on others. That the path to success is really more sure if we help others instead of trying to step over them. Let's help these younger colleagues realize that not speaking the truth in business or even in society, or just little things like being late, let's show them that they're both sins. Let's show them the value of not speaking ill of the competition. because after all, we're not going to advance our value by trying to decline the value of someone else's, are we? So as we try to get more people involved, and I'm sure that you're already mentoring somebody, but as we're trying to get more people involved in mentoring young people, there's all kinds of great organizations around to help with this. Successful folks like all of you getting a kick out of helping others, giving back to the community and showing younger people and people in a funk the value of putting in. Lastly, share with them. How many of you are like me? When I was a young man, I was always sure that there was a secret, some secret to success. Did you all feel the same way? Well, being the quick study I am, it only took me about 40 years to figure out there is no secret, right? There is no secret. I think honor, success, love, and respect, it's available to all whom ask. The only hitch is you have to pay it forward. And if you pay it forward, it comes back in spades, doesn't it? So showing everybody that early on, sharing with them that success is not a destination, but rather a journey. As we think about volunteerism in our city, do you know that the Bureau of Labor keeps track of volunteerism? Starting in the year 2002, they started tracking it. Do you know that last year, sadly, the volunteerism rate, it's been in decline since they've started tracking it, but do you know last year it was the lowest level since 2002 when they started tracking it? Today, only 1 in 4 adults is actually volunteering for anything. And we're not talking about 10 or 15 hours a week. I mean, only 1 in 4 are even volunteering for even as little as an hour a week. Getting these younger people, if we want them to become part of the very fabric of the community, asking them to go along the next time you volunteer on something, it works. And it works great. And can you see how it's going to come back to benefit us? Because if we've got these people involved early on in the service organizations that we belong to, in the church organizations that we belong to, in the city governments, in the local governments, and selfishly in our own businesses, can you see how we can feel a little better about handing the baton off in the future? That we're going to have more qualified people to do. You know, let's show these groups that there truly is magic in thinking big. Let's show these groups that we need to under-promise yet try to over-deliver, that inner strengths and resolves are much better predictors of success than any IQ or SAT scores. Because if people are feeling bad about something, let's encourage them to put the past behind them and start anew. So after watching successful people like many of you over the years, I think I've identified that you all have the recipe. Let's share that recipe with others, showing others how to get ahead. Does everybody know the Center for Disease Control keeps track of how many scripts are written for every kind of drug? Last year, sadly, they reported that over 220 million prescriptions for antidepressants were written. A friend of mine that's a psychiatrist shared this with me. He said in his professional opinion, half of those could maybe be replaced and or certainly improved upon if they were given with maybe just a helping hand, a caring friend, maybe some kind of a willing listener, someone to encourage. So the favor I ask of you is this: be on the lookout for that relative or that friend or that colleague that might be in a funk, and take the risk of reaching out. Ask, is everything okay? Is there anything I can help with? You seem a little down. I've noticed you've gone off track a little bit. Can I help you get back on track? Chances are you can point out that maybe things are better than they're thinking. Spreading some of that good cheer, sharing some of that mental wealth that you've developed. And again, helping these younger colleagues secure a quicker path to success and how it all comes back to us. Everybody in this room, you've all accomplished some pretty cool things. Now I'm asking you, I'm begging you to accomplish something bigger yet, something bigger than ourselves, and that's to lift a younger colleague or to help out someone in a funk. And if you do, I promise it gets paid back in spades. So as we're generous with ourselves, let's try to be a little more generous with others and looking out for some of these areas. And if you spot a situation where I can help, ring me up. I'd love to. I wish you all continued good fortune, and I thank you for turning out.